This is a quick introduction to hiding, deactivating, and freezing patterns. So let's say we want to freeze a certain part of this garment. That is, we want it to just remain in its place. What we can do, we of course use the 2D or 3D window to do this. If it's a sleeve, let's say we click on the sleeve, left click on the sleeve, right click, and we see the dialog box. You click on freeze, and here this it's frozen. So now if I go to simulate, I will not be able to move it. Okay, so consider it like frozen, like a block of ice. So here I'm able to move the others. I am able to adjust the color and everything else, the other parts, but I'm not able to move this. So I'm going to take off simulation, and if you want this to return to normal, you right click again on it and you just unfreeze. You unfreeze and it's back to normal. Now, here I'm going to tell you, if you decide, for example, to freeze, let's freeze it again, freeze this part of the garment. And let's just pretend for some reason it's moved away a bit, because you can be doing a very complicated garment where you have many layers and you will need to lift, move, and really adjust. Let's say we simulate this. If we simulate this, you see everything now gets distorted because this frozen sleeve, it's like it becomes, let's say this ice block becomes like a magnet, and it just pulls everything towards it, or at least that part of the garment towards it. So if this happens, you should then understand, if it pulls it towards it, then the sewing relationship it's still active. Okay, so the sewing relationship here is still active. So at this point it would be really really difficult for you to understand what you're doing. Okay, let's undo what we've done. Undo, Control Z, and let's put it here, put everything back. Now we're gonna unfreeze. Okay, now let's take the other function, for example, deactivating. Here, we're going to deactivate the sleeve. We right click and we're going to deactivate the pattern. So we've deactivated this because we want to work on the other parts of the garment. So we've deactivated it, and let's do this again. Let's just take this part, we take it out here, and we're going to simulate again. Here again, we've deactivated the pattern, but there again, the sewing relationship, it's active, okay? The sewing from this part here to this, it's active. So we're going to Control Z again to undo this. So you may say, well, but what can I do? I really don't want, maybe while I'm adjusting the different parts of the garment, I really don't want anything pulling like that because it just distorts everything. I don't understand what I'm doing. What am I going to do? Okay, so there is an easy way to do this. We're going to right click and we're going to activate. Okay, so you right click, you activate when you want it to return to normal. In order to avoid this problem, this is what you do. You right click and you deactivate pattern and sewing. And this function is very useful. Here it is. Now let's move that sleeve again. Let's simulate and see what happens. Nothing, okay? You can easily adjust the garment. It's not pulling towards the sleeve. It's not, and it's very useful because you may have layers, you may have a lot of things to work with, and this can really help. And I'll, of course, show you this on a more complex garment in the future, but this is just an introduction. So here it works well. The sewing relationship, it's everything deactivated, whether it be the pattern, the sewing relationship, dead. So here we're going to stop simulation and we're going to do Control Z again, and okay. We want to activate it, right click, and we activate it. Now, this is very important. It seems very simple, but it's very important because many times, if you're working with a complex garment and you have many pieces, the problem with some of course, it depends on the computing power. You may want to deactivate pattern and sewing for many of your garment pieces because um, it's, as I said, it's a lot of computing power going on. And when you go to simulate others, it may be really very slow. So in the meanwhile, if you do that, you're going to be saving time. And really, when you do complex garments, believe me, time, it's important. So let's go to the last feature I'd like to talk about today, and this is the hide feature. For example, here, if we click on this, right click, here you see hide patterns in 3D window or hide all patterns. If you want to hide a specific pattern, the one I've clicked on, you click on this and it's hidden. Okay, I didn't hide all the patterns, but just that specific one. If you can do things either one of two ways. So you've hidden this one here. We can just right click and we choose show patterns in 3D window. It comes back. Or what we could do is we can just control Z and then it comes back. So either way, it just this was the last function I did was control Y, okay, because I had gone to go forward. And either way, it comes back, this pattern. So if here again, I'll show you hide patterns, hidden, okay. Now if I do Control Z, it'll come back, okay, because I went back one step in the operation. So hiding patterns, very important. For example, if I really want to do a quick preview of how a garment could look without certain things, for example, let's say without the sleeves, I could just, whether it be in the 2D or 3D window, let's use the 2D window, click on the garment, on the pattern piece, that is, hold down shift, click on the other one, right click, and we hide the patterns. So here I have a preview of how this could look. So I can decide to delete these pattern pieces, no problem. And I just go ahead. Or I said, no, I'm going to use them. So I right click again. Always these pattern pieces have to be selected. And you show patterns in 3D window. Of course, there again, I'm going to right click to show you. If I right click, and if you decide to hide all 3D patterns, they're all hidden. Okay? And then I right click again, and we're going to just show all 3D patterns. And here the garment comes back. So here, I hope this quick introduction was useful. In any case, we're going to be using these functions a lot. So if you follow along in the other videos, you're going to be very, you're going to understand maybe even better how to use them and why they're so useful. See you in the next video.